Alright, this video will be the Idiot's Proof Guide to MAME. Now, I might call the video Idiot Proof MAME Guide, and that might sound a little offensive to some of you, like, hey, I'm not an idiot. But I'm not trying to be mean-spirited by that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that whenever I put out a MAME guide or anything like that, I always say stuff like, if you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll try to help you as best I can. And there will be people of all walks of life, different ages, different experience levels, who maybe they're getting into MAME for the first time, or they run into a strange situation where they just can't wrap their head around it and they're confused or lost about something. And that's okay. That happens to everybody in the beginning. I didn't have anybody helping me out in the beginning, and I had a lot of hurdles to cross before I had everything working the way I liked and understood everything. And it's nice if somebody makes a video that tries to help people like that, people who need a little helping hand. So I wanted to do that in this video, and basically I just want to make the whole process, like I say, idiot proof, so that it just everything's as much as it can be is done for you, and all of the complications and hurdles are taken out of the experience, and you can just get going with it quickly and effectively. And also, I'm kind of gearing this video towards not only just beginners, but people who are familiar with my channel specifically, and like and enjoy my artwork. See, if you look through my game list, you'll notice that I have like custom art that I do. You know what I mean? And I'll make videos, showing my custom artwork process or something like that. And some people might say, you know what? I'm kind of a beginner. I'm a little confused and I need some help. And what I would really like, is if you could just make a video where you explain how I, as the viewer, can have exactly what you have, your entire list here, looking just like yours, with the same snapshots over here, where I can just click on it and it's gonna run and look like it does on your YouTube channel for you, and have your artwork and everything just work, no problems. Can you do that for me? Can you just basically give me a download link to what you have? And I can do that, except for the only catch is I can't upload the ROMs themselves because that's illegal, and people who have done that on their channels, eventually, sooner or later, comes a time maybe where you see that channel isn't around anymore. It gets taken down, and I've had some friends where that happened. So it's not really worth the risk. So, but basically, I can give you everything but the ROMs. But even doing that, it can be a little complicated for people. So I was like, how do I make it even easier? So anyways, I think I've figured out a way to do that. I think I finally figured out a way to make it as idiot proof as humanly possible. So here we go. Let's get right into it. Okay. Underneath this video that you're watching right now, you should get in the description area a link. And to give you the example, let's just click on one of my main videos. Okay. And you'll see that you'll have a link that says something like my entire MAME pre-configured with HLSL and the bezel art, like the whole package. So you're going to click on the link. It's going to take you to my Google Drive, and you've got a lot of stuff here, and this is my main folder. Now you can back out and go to my main drive and see I have templates, I have my whole MAME package, and then I have just my bezel art collection. But the link's going to be for this, the MAME package. Okay, and it's going to look probably like this. Now what you need to do is up here where it says MAME UI 64 highlighted in black here, there's this little drop down arrow. Click it, and then in the list down here you should have a download option. So you're going to click that. Okay, now in the bottom right you'll see that it says it's preparing the download, and what it's doing is it's zipping all of this up for you, and it's going to take quite a while, probably like 2 or 3 minutes, because Google Drive has like some speed limit issue there with that process. So even if you have a fast internet connection, Google Drive is a little bit slow and sluggish when it comes to zipping up a lot of stuff for you. So just go smoke a cigarette, drink a beer, make a sandwich, whatever, and then you'll come back in a little while and you'll see it's done zipping it, and it's going to ask you where you want to save it to on your computer. Now If you already have a previous installation of MAME UI 64 somewhere, like let's say on your desktop or wherever, and it's just named like this, it's named MAME UI 64, and inside of it is your old MAME UI 64 with all set up or whatever, but you say I want to try his package, I want to try his MAME build from this video that he's doing, and you're downloading it right now, you might want to rename your old original MAME UI 64, like just call it MAME UI 64 or something else, or whatever, or move it temporarily, or you can leave it alone, and when you got this done, maybe this you rename to something else, like name this one MAME UI 64 YouTube, whatever, just something different, so that you don't get confused and have your old installation and your new installation kind of named the same thing. You don't want that. So just kind of putting that out there, because a lot of us will have more than one copy of MAME on our computer somewhere, because they're always coming out with new versions, blah 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 blah. So anyways, this takes a while, like I said, a few minutes for Google Drive to zip this up. So while it's doing that, through the magic of editing, I'm just going to skip ahead to save you time. Okay, so now that it's zipped it up for you, it's going to ask you where you want to save it. And pay attention to where it's asking you where it wants to save it as. That way you don't lose track of it. I've got mine saving to the desktop by default. Now it has a long-winded name here with a lot of numbers and crap. That's okay. Just go ahead and start the save. And then in the bottom left you should see that it's downloading. And it takes about a minute, I guess. It's 873 megabytes, so yeah, it's going to depend on your internet speed how long that's going to take. Alright, looks like it's done now. There we go. Okay, so we can close the internet, and you should have this zipped up folder. So go ahead and extract it using WinRAR, 7-zip, or whatever. I'll extract here, and take a little while, but it's not going to take that long. The extracted size is just over a gigabyte, and that's with no ROMs. I'm not allowed to provide the ROMs. If I could provide the ROMs, shit, that'd be it. You'd be done. You'd just launch it and you'd be done. But like I said, there's the legality issue, which sucks. So, and in the past, it used to be kind of complicated, because I'd just say, well, here, go find your ROMs, good luck, and you'd have a lot of work on your hands. But like I said, I think I found a easier way, and I'm going to explain in just a second. So anyways, down here you see the application, you click it. For the beginning, the first thing, let's go ahead and go to options up here and go to background image, and I put a nice little background image in there for you. Just click that, and now it's a lot easier on the eyes. Okay, and like I said, if I could put all the ROMs in there for you legally, I would, and then you'd just start playing your games and you'd be good to go. I've gone through the trouble of making this big list of good games for you, basically. If you want to add your own games, you can, or if you don't like one of these games on the list, you can just right click it and say remove. Where is it? Remove from this folder, and it won't be in the list. But this is a good collection, at least for me, and every game in this list I've made custom artwork for. So if you see a game in this list, it's going to have a snapshot I've already made for it. It's going to have custom artwork I've already made for it. If you get a game that's not in this list and you add it in for yourself, you're going to have to make your own artwork. You're going to have to take your own snapshots, because it'll just be blank over here. When you launch the game, it'll just be black on the left and right sides, no artwork. And if you were to want to make your own artwork, and you need a little help figuring out how to make your own artwork, if you were so inclined, I did make a good guide here. It's an hour-long course on how I make my bezel art, so it should be very easy to follow along, because I try to make it really simple, and you'll know how to make your own bezel art. Anyways, but let's say you're not worried about it, adding new games to this list. This list is good enough for you, and you're happy with it. And all you want to do is just start playing these games and enjoying the artwork that I've made and enjoy the games. So for that, basically what you're going to do is you're just going to need to fill up your ROMs folder. Okay? So you'll notice in the ROMs folder I have a little README here. Game links inside, README. Go ahead and open that up. And in this README, I'm going to include links to all of the games. All of the games, not every game ever made, but all of the games that you're going to see here in this long list here, okay? So basically, like X-Men, here's the direct link. You know, X-Men versus Street Fighter, here's the direct link. And you're just going to go through and get them all. And after you've gotten them all, and it's the correct version, it's the exact version I have, the parent ROM, it's not a clone, it's not a bootleg, you know, it'll work. And some of these games like Killer Instinct require a CHID file, or some of these games like King of Fighters need a BIOS, like a Neo Geo BIOS, or some of these Street Fighter games will need a Q-Sound BIOS or whatever. So up here above the ROM section, I have the CHID files section, which is just the games from the list that require CHID files, and links to the said CHID files, and a tutorial on how to do that. Like, you place the CHID inside after you unzip, blah, 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 blah. It gives you instructions to make it even easier so you don't have to do any guesswork. It's explained here with links. Same thing with BIOS. Here's the BIOS pack. Here's updated standalone BIOS that you need for these particular games to work, you know, and the links are included. And there's an instruction area like a description of what BIOS are, how it works, what to do with them, all that. So basically, this README has everything you need to know, you know, so that it takes all the guesswork out of it, okay? And you're just going to start downloading this stuff, okay? So let's say I want to begin at the top and work my way down. So the first link is this Mame BIOS pack. So you're going to highlight the link, hit copy, open an internet browser, and then paste that link in. And then see, here it is. It's going to ask you to save it. Mame BIOS. So I'm just going to save it. Let's start saving it to the ROMs folder. So we're going to point it to this ROMs folder. Oops, no, here we go. ROMs folder. There it is. It's an empty ROMs folder. We're just going to save there. Alright, done. Alright, let's do the next one. So the next one down, this individual Megaplay BIOS. Copy it. Go back to our internet browser. Paste in the link. Alright, and sometimes instead of it directly doing it, it's going to check to make sure you're a human. It's like, hey, you're coming from an outside source with that link. Are you a real person or are you a robot? Yes, I'm real. I want to continue to get my download. So you click the little gold link. You come down past their advertisements. There you go, direct download links. You click the gold little link. And then, just for good measure, they give you one more page of advertisements because they're trying to make a buck. And then finally, the real direct download gold link right there. Where do you want to save it? To the ROMs folder. There you go. Alright. Okay. Now, and you just keep doing that until you've got everything, right, all the way down to the bottom, and you'll have my entire collection. Now, for this BIOS pack, this first one we did right here, the BIOS pack, I tell you in the instructions here that this pack comes zipped. Okay, so basically what you want to do is it says don't place the BIOS pack.zip in the ROMs folder or MAME won't see the BIOS files. What you want is all the loose.zip files in your ROMs folder for MAME to find. So let's go look into that ROMs folder and you see, yep, there's MAME BIOS zipped .rar. So what you do is you extract that BIOS pack in here. Okay, and here's the BIOS folder that comes out of it, and here's all your actual BIOS files. Okay, so now that we've extracted it, we don't need the compressed .rar anymore. We can delete that, and we can go into this folder and grab all of these BIOS. So I'm going to select everything, alright, and then I'm going to hit copy, or going to hit cut, either way. And then in the main ROMs folder, paste. Yeah, replace. Just get it all. Give me all that stuff. Alright, and now I don't need the loose folder anymore up here because MAME doesn't know how to look at that stuff. Alright, this is what you want it to look like. You want it to just be all these .zip files. Okay, all the individual BIOS need to be .zip files. Okay, that way when MAME looks, it's going to look in the ROMs folder, and then it's going to see the direct zip file for the BIOS it's looking for. Okay, You don't want it to have to go into a subfolder. It's never going to find it, and it's going to have an error. So this is how it needs to look. It needs to be extracted like this, and that's for that first one, the Mame BIOS pack. All right. I just overwrote the Megaplay BIOS when I extracted that pack, but the Megaplay BIOS that comes in this pack is outdated. So again, you know what I mean. You need these newer Megaplay, Neo Geo, Nintendo Super System, PlayChoice 10, and QSound BIOS. These are the updated ones from the ones that come in the pack. So you'd copy, you'd paste, you'd get it. This is that Megaplay BIOS. Yep. And I already have one. So I want it to just be megaplay.zip. And I want to replace the outdated one that came in that pack. Alright. And I'm going to do the same thing for the next one, Neo Geo BIOS. Copy, paste it in here. I'm not a robot. Let me get my file. First page of ads. Go down here to direct download links. Click the gold. Second page of ads. Here's the actual one. I'd like to save it here and make sure it's just Neo Geo, not Neo Geo 1 like a copy. But to make life easier, if you set your default download location to somewhere other than the ROMs folder, it's not going to try to rename it. Okay? And then all you'd have to do is drag it in later. So, like for example, let's go to the next one down, Nintendo Super System BIOS for games like F-Zero. There we go. Copy, paste and go. I'm not a robot. Here we go. Come down, click, come down, click. See, now my default save location is the desktop, not inside of the ROMs folder. So it doesn't try to rename this one because it's not seeing the outdated BIOS pack one. So all I have to do is just straight away hit save. And then, you know, by doing it this way, you do have some loose things on your desktop over here, as you can see. Let me move this over. See, loose things on your desktop. You just drag them into the ROMs and then overwrite the outdated one from the BIOS pack. Neo Geo, drag it into the ROMs. Overwrite the outdated one from the BIOS pack. Okay. I don't need the original name here. There we go. Okay. And you just continue on. You're carrying on. So we've done the pack, and then we're getting these updated BIOS. We've done Megaplay, we've done Neo Geo, we've done Nintendo Super System, now we do PlayChoice 10, and then QSound, and that's all of them. That would be all of the BIOS. Moving on, you see this CHID files section. This is only for these 4 games in my collection that require CHID file. Killer Instinct, Street Fighter 3, Second Impact, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and the original Street Fighter 3 New Generation. These 4 games require CHID files. So what does that mean? Well, basically what that means is, let's use Killer Instinct as an example. Let's find Killer Instinct. Here it is, Killer Instinct. We're going to copy it. We're going to open the web browser at the top. We're going to paste and go. And it's loading. We are not a robot. Get your file. Come down. Keep coming. And here it is. And you'll notice there's another thing down here. It says download CHID. Well, this is the CHID that I've got the link for in my notepad. But right now we're just trying to get the ROM. Okay, come down a little bit further. Here we go. Here's our ROM. Okay. Sometimes MU Paradise goes a little slow because they want you to stop and read their ads. That's how they make their money. Alright, so we're getting the ROM. ROM's done. Okay, so what you do is in your ROMs folder, you need to add in that Killer Instinct ROM. Move here. Okay, now you go to the Killer Instinct ROM. Is it at the bottom? Yeah. Extract it to a folder. Don't just hit extract here, or you're going to get a bunch of loose crap in your ROMs folder. You don't want that. So extract it to a folder named the same. Okay? Now you should have a loose folder right here at the top that's Killer Instinct. Inside, this is like the contents of the Killer Instinct ROM. But you need to add the contents of the CHID file in as well. So this is one of those 4 games that has a CHID file. So you see I provide the link for you right here. But since we were already just at the place where we got our ROM, you noticed if we went back a screen, it also has the link here. Same thing. So this right here, they're trying to be convenient and inform you that this game has a CHID file, and they're providing you the link. But if you didn't have that, I also provide you the link in my CHID file section. It's the same thing. It's this right here. It takes you to the same place. Alright, and when you click that, it's going to ask you to save, and it's just going to be called KINST, same as the ROM, but it's going to have a .chid extension. And this .chids are big. They're going to take longer to download. This is like 90 megabytes compared to a little ROM. If your internet's slow, it's going to take a little while. But anyways, now we got it. Okay, so we've got our CHID file. We've got our ROM. Our ROM is in the ROMs list. You know, killerinstinct.zip. We've extracted it so that we can gain access inside the ROM. So it's a loose folder. And we open that up, and then we just put our killerinstinct.chid inside there. Okay. There. Now we've added the CHID file into Killer Instinct ROM, and you don't even have to zip it back up. Okay, because MAME naturally tries to open the loose folder of the ROM before it tries to open the zip version. So this does not have the CHID in. We didn't add the CHID in. So if you try to launch this, it would crash. It would say missing the CHID file Killer Instinct needs. But fortunately, MAME will look for this first, and it will launch because it will see the CHID file we've added. If you want to, you can even delete the one you know doesn't have the CHID file to save space. And if you wanted to, you could even zip this back up just so that everything's neat and organized, like add to killerinstinct.zip. Alright, give it a minute, and then you don't need the loose folder anymore. You can delete that. So now when you go to play Killer Instinct, it can't be zipped. I'm glad I tested that, because if you tried that at home, you'd be like, what the heck, what's going on? So with CHID files, it has to be loose. It has to stay loose. So let's go to Killer Instinct again. 7-zip, extract to KINST, get rid of the original zip. So we have the loose file. Oh, that's why it's double foldered or something, isn't it? Yeah, see, there's a folder inside of a folder. That was the problem. You don't want that. This is what you'd have to do. Highlight all the actual contents, add to killerinstinct.zip. There you go. Now you've got a zipped up one that probably would get recognized. For now, let's move that out here. Let's delete this mess. Now let's move that back in, and we know it has the CHID in there and no subfolder, because it had a subfolder, and so that could be the problem. Let's try that now. Oh, it still doesn't like it. So it probably does have to be loose. So let's take a look at that. Killer Instinct. Where is it? Where is it? Okay. Where is it? Did it put it at the bottom? Yeah, it didn't alphabetize it yet. Alright, 7-zip. Extract. Alright. Maybe it just wants the loose folder, so let's try that. Delete. Now we just have this loose folder like this, right? And it has the CHID inside. We don't have a zipped variant at all. So let's try launching it now. No problem. So basically, when it comes to the games that have CHIDs, like the Street Fighter 3 games and the Killer Instinct game, you cannot have when you add the CHID in, you can't zip it all back up. Okay? It has to be unzipped. Okay? So that's all that is. Alright. Now, the reason I didn't know that is because, like, let me show you my folder of my MAME that I use every day, and go to my ROMs. See, I've never bothered to try to zip my CHID games back up. When I look at like Street Fighter 3, it's a loose folder. I never bothered to try to zip it back up, and it just works. But for the purpose of this, I was like, well, what if somebody wanted to zip it back up? Would it work or not? And we just found out it won't. So once you've unzipped your original ROM and you've added in the CHID, just leave it like that as the loose folder, and then you see that then it works. Alright, so anyways, moving on. So that covers BIOS installation, and it covers the CHID installations. Now some games like Street Fighter 3 Second Impact Giant Attack has 2 CHID files. It's the same process. You've got your ROM, which I got the link to down here. Right here, here's the ROM. You would download the ROM, put it in the internet browser. You're not a robot. You want to get your file. First page of ads, come down to the direct download link. And then second page, you get the actual ROM. It's only 132 kilobytes. It's going to be really fast. Okay. After that, you start getting the CHID files you need. You can just go back a page and they're right here. Okay. Each one is 42 megabytes. Download the first one. Download the second one. Too many downloads. Okay, yeah, just give it a second and then you'll download the second one. Almost ready. Okay, now download the second one. Okay. Give it just a minute for that to finish up. It's pretty quick. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to make sure that people really have a good grasp on the process for games that require CHIDs, because it is the most complicated part. Most ROMs, you just get them and you put them in the ROMs folder and you're good. But for the CHID ones, they are more complicated, so I'm just showing you an actual live demonstration. Okay, so here's the ROM for Street Fighter 3 2. Alright, and we extract it. Okay. Inside of there, this is all that was in there. Okay, it's not enough for the game to work. It needs its CHID files. So we're going to put the CHID files in there. There we go. Now that we put the CHID files in there, we take this Street Fighter 3 2 folder and we move it to the ROMs folder. Okay, so it's in here now, loose like this. Now when we try to launch Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, it's gonna, this menu that says there are problems, that's normal. Don't freak out, that's normal. Okay, here we go. Street Fighter 3 Second Impact. Now you see a black screen for a while. That's okay, just have to be patient for a little bit. A new CD-ROM has been inserted. Do you wish to rewrite the game? If you wish to rewrite the game, push player 1 shot 1 button. I guess that would mean player 1 light punch, perhaps. If you wish to cancel, shot 2. I guess that'd be medium punch. So I hit light punch. For Street Fighter games, light punch is like the first player button. And if you don't have your button set up, you'd go to tab and then input this machine. Player 1 jab. That's shot 1. Okay, so it's like, you know, make sure your buttons are set up right. I've already got my buttons set for my PS3 DualShock 3 controller here that I'm using at the moment. When you download my package, it's gonna still think that you're using my DualShock 3. So it's gonna say, you know, when you go to input config, you're gonna see like Joy 1 start, Joy 1 back, you know, and all this kind of stuff. It thinks it's an Xbox controller. So if you're playing with an actual Xbox controller after you download my pack, you might not even have to set up your buttons, you know. But if you do, that's how you do it. You go to tab, input this machine, and that's how you set up your buttons. Oh, and while I'm in here, the way you set up artwork is you go to video options, and you can set up your artwork, or you can turn it off if you don't want it. If you have a 4:3 screen and you're not playing on a 16:9 screen, you just click this option and it would fill your whole screen. But for people who have wide screens, you can choose one of these artworks to fill up the blank space. And if you stretch it, then you got issues. If you're like one of these kids who grew up in a time where everything was always widescreen and you think that's normal, so, oh, I want it to stretch and be distorted. Well, you could do that this way, but it'll look disgusting and you need to have your head examined because that looks like trash. Anyways, normal with the artwork. Now, for these Street Fighter 3 games, you're like, what is this? Installing a CD, now loading all this crap. Because it thinks that you have the actual arcade machine, and back in the day when Street Fighter 3 first came out in the arcades, you would have to have this CD when you first got your arcade machine, and you'd put it in, and it's going to basically write all of the contents of the game, you know, and save it to its RAM or whatever. And so that's what this process is, where it's writing that, okay? And it only has to do it the one time, the first time. When it's done, you just launch it and it's good to go. I'm going to head and cancel the process to save time. I will show you what happens once you've done that by going to another version of MAME I have that's already set up and, you know, configured properly or whatever. So let's launch another version I have that's already set up good. Let's go to the exact same game and launch it. Now this is what would happen after you've already loaded all that CD crap for Street Fighter 3. Instead, when you go to play the game, you're not going to be prompted to do that. Instead, what you're going to have is it's going to go straight into the game, as you can see here.
Your character. Select your super art. Round 1. Fight.
But anyways, as you can see, it works fine. Okay, so basically what we've figured out is how to get BIOS in, how to get CHID files in, okay, and correctly, because if you just put the BIOS pack in without unzipping it like I showed you and all that, it wouldn't have worked right. If you just try to do CHID files without having them loose like this, they won't work right. So that covers complex issues you might run into. However, for most games, it's going to be so much easier. When you've gotten past the difficult part of, you know, getting your BIOS in there, all those loose BIOS files, getting your CHID ROMs, and then putting the CHID files inside of the ROMs in a loose folder, you know, doing that. And if it's a Street Fighter 3 game, you got to wait for the CD to install the game. It takes forever, but whatever. But now you're done with the complicated stuff. The rest of these games are just going to be really simple and basic, you know what I mean? Like, there's not going to be a lot to it. Like, let's say you're going to do, like, I don't know, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something. It's really straightforward compared to, like, CHID stuff, okay? Just copy, open the internet browser, and then paste and go. And yes, I'm not a robot. Get my file. Come down, direct download link past the ads right here. Come down a little more, and then your final real one. Save it. Okay, and then you come over here. Here it is saved. Put it in your ROMs folder. Okay, so now when I launch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, okay, here it is. Okay, now that was easier. You didn't have to worry about CHID stuff and all that. So most ROMs are like this. You just follow the link, you put it in the ROMs folder, and you're good to go. Again, the artwork tab, go to video options, and you're going to have some games I made more artwork for than other games. It depends on the game. Some games I only made like 1 or 2 artworks. Other games I went ahead and made a lot more. So anyway, after you've got all this stuff figured out, the last thing to cover is HLSL effects. Now, if you go to tab and you go to slider options, you'll see you've got all this stuff here, but then you've got a little white line that separates, and then you got all this crap down here: shadow mask, quadrant distortion, and all this. These are the HLSL settings to make the game look good. And when you download my package, it comes with my HLSL settings, okay? So you don't have to tweak them. It already looks good. And I'm going to give you an example of what it looks like, a comparison, side-by-side comparison with HLSL enabled and HLSL disabled, so that you can get like a back and forth really quick example. So let's go ahead and disable HLSL effects. So we're going to go into MAME. We're going to go to Any. We're going to go to Presets, MAME, and here's where the HLSL effects are stored. Come down here low, HLSL enabled 1. We're going to put 0, and then we're going to save that. Okay, now I'm going to launch a game, Mortal Kombat, and this is just going to be what, oh, I forgot I didn't, I'm doing a tutorial and I'm showing you how to get some ROMs, but that doesn't mean that I've gone and put every ROM in. So to save time, let me go ahead and put all the ROMs in. Actually, I'll just show you again. I'll show you the process real quick. If you were getting Mortal Kombat, where's that README? Here it is. So you'd come down to Mortal Kombat. Here it is. Get the link. Copy. Internet browser. Paste and go. You're not a robot. Get your file. Come down. Click the first one. Come down. Click the second one. Yes, you want to save it. And it's saved. Alright. Now that you have it, you want to put it in your ROMs folder. So let's put Mortal Kombat in the ROMs folder. Done. Alright. Now let's launch Mortal Kombat. Now this is going to be standard without HLSL effects to make it look good. Okay? Alright, so this is what it looks like just standard with no HLSL. It's going to be kind of ugly and pixelated looking because the image has been stretched from the original really low resolution to our HD monitors. So it looks like crap, it's flat, it's grainy, it has horrible pixelation, it looks like crap. So basically I'm just going to transition now into HLSL enabled so you can see a direct side-by-side comparison so you realize what it is that HLSL does to the image quality. Alright, so here's with HLSL enabled. So you can see the difference right away. Basically it's just, it makes the image look good the way it should, the way it would look on an old school CRT monitor. You know, it gets rid of a lot of the jaggies and all that bull crap. Now, you need two things to run the HLSL effects. One, your graphics card has to be at least good enough, and for that you just have to have a graphics card that can handle Pixel Shader 3.0 or higher. And like, you know, old laptop with integrated graphics card might not do the trick, but pretty much any standalone card is going to be good enough. You can Google your specs of your card to see if it has Pixel Shader 3.0 or higher. The second thing you need is the DirectX 9.0C runtime library. And maybe you're like, you're like, oh, I got a brand new graphics card, brand new computer with a DirectX 11. I should be good. But for some reason, I don't have HLSL. Maybe your brand new computer just doesn't have that old DirectX 9 language, right? It's got DirectX 11 and all that, but it's missing the old crap. And these older applications like Mame, maybe they need the old DirectX in there. You know what I'm saying? And it's not going to hurt you to put the old DirectX 9.0C in. It's not going to overwrite your good new DirectX 11 or anything. It's just going to add that into the library of your DirectX runtimes so that for these older applications that require the old DirectX, they'll be able to run efficiently. Now, if you hit Tab, go to Slider Options, and you have HLSL enabled, and it's working, you should have all this section down here below the white line, like shadow mask stuff, quadrant distortion amount, all this. This means you have HLSL, and these are the sliders that adjust how it looks and how it appears on screen. Now, you don't have to mess with these. I've already, in the package, I've already given you my HLSL settings, okay? But if you wanted to, you could by hitting the tilde key above the tab, and you hit down a couple times till you get to your HLSL stuff, and you just play with these values until you get it the way you like if you want to adjust it and fine-tune it for personal taste. But like I said, I've already got it adjusted good, so I think you shouldn't need to do that. So anyways, with HLSL, you just need to have a computer that has a standalone graphics card, even if it's an old beat-up one, as long as it's Pixel Shader 3.0 or higher, and you have to have the DirectX 9.0C runtime. If you don't have those two requirements met, HLSL just won't appear, and you won't see it. Also, you need to make sure that your computer, even if you have those requirements met, is strong enough to run the effects and still keep the 60 frames per second or whatever. Otherwise, you know, it's gonna, you might lose some frames on a wimpy computer, and then maybe HLSL isn't for you because you need to keep your frame rates up. So there you go. So like if you're on the old laptop that don't have what it takes, or you're missing that DirectX file, when you go to Slider Options, instead of seeing all that stuff, you just see this. There's nothing below that white line down there. And that means, oh man, my computer can't do HLSL effects, dang. Or it means, I gotta go get that DirectX file. And the DirectX file in question is this one right here. .0C. Maybe I'll put a link to it in the description area. You just click that red button and then you run through the installation. Now don't worry, it's not going to turn your brand new DirectX 11 into some crappy old DirectX 9. You're going to keep whatever current version of DirectX you have. And then probably when you go to run this, it'll be like, you already have a newer version anyways. Are you sure you want this? And you're going to, yeah, I want it. Just add it in. Add this in. Because MAME needs to be able to understand this kind of old DirectX 9 language to apply the HLSL effect. So you're keeping your new DirectX version, but you just want to add in this DirectX language in to your DirectX library. Okay, so make sure you have that if you're having trouble not seeing HLSL displayed properly. Okay, so now you see what the difference is between what it looks like with HLSL on and off, and if you don't have it, you'll know why. It's either you're missing that DirectX, or you have a really bad graphics card that just doesn't have Pixel Shader 3.0 function that is required. Okay, so anyways, there's the HLSL settings stuff. I think that pretty much covers everything that I can think of. Last but not least, if you were to get a new game to add into this list that I don't have, that's not in my list of links, you're not going to see the snapshot right away, and you're not going to see game artwork. Okay, so just, you'd have to make your own, like I said before. You can look for games, like if you're adding games in, where are you going to find them? They're not going to show up here right away. Like let's say I just downloaded a ROM that's not in this list, okay, and I don't see it, and I go, where's my ROM? I put it in the ROMs folder. Just go to All Games tab and then search for it in here, because this will be every game ever made. Let's say I just downloaded some game called Moon Quasar from 1980, and I put it in my ROMs folder, and I don't see it in my custom thing. So go to All Games, alphabetically, there it is, Moon Quasar, and then you would drag it into the custom folder, and then you would see it in there. So this All Games folder is where everything is. Now, that don't mean you have all these games. You'd have to manually go and grab every single one of these, right? So, anyways, this All Games folder, that's what this list is. But the custom list is the one that it'll default to when you download my package, and it'll be all these games that I made artwork for, and snapshots, took snapshots of, and basically you can just follow my README that I have in the ROMs folder and read it all, read the instructions, and get every link like you've seen me do here. Once you've gotten every link and you've get it all put together into your ROMs folder, then you can just enjoy life. You could just click any one of these and it's just gonna work. So let me take you to one that's already complete. Here's one on my computer that's already 100% set up, I believe. Or I'll just go to this link up here, it's faster. I think it's the same thing. Yeah, it's already set up. And you just be able to click on anything. I'm going to play Sonic the Hedgehog 2 or something. And just click on it and go. Now, some games like old Sega Genesis or Nintendo or Super Nintendo that you'll see in my list, you'll be like, what? I didn't know that was in the arcade. Well, for Sega Genesis, there would be these arcade machines called Mega Play. And you'd put your coin in, and actually, you'd have two screens, I think. Or no, you just have the one, right? Oh, here it is. It gives you instructions, just put your coin in, blah, blah, blah. Do I have to do anything? Yeah, this is really straightforward. It's just, you just put your coin in, and you hit start, and you're good. And then I'll play Sonic 2, But for some of these old, like console emulated games that you'd find in the arcade, like Super Mario Brothers, let's say I wanted to play that. There's an extra step you have to go through. So if you go to video options and you see these dual under over, what's that? You'll see there's two screens. And basically what you would have in the arcade in the old days is you would have a monitor above your monitor, and the monitor above would show you a list of old NES games that were all on that arcade machine. You'd put your coins in, and then you'd select which one you want to play, and you'd hit enter. So, but in MAME, what you're doing when you're emulating that old arcade machine that emulated old NES games, what you do instead is you just have one game like Mario 3, and you go to your button config, and you just have to set something up as enter. All right, you don't need to set anything up as channel select because you're not, all your ROMs aren't in one little neat folder for it, but you need to set up something as enter. So normally you just set up coin 1 and start for most ROMs, but for the NES games you have to also set up something for enter. Here in this case I use the left shoulder button. So I put my coin in, now I hit my left shoulder button, it's as if I hit enter, and it's like, which channel? Super Mario 3? Yeah, I'm gonna hit enter. And there we go. Now it loads Super Mario 3 and I've got coins in there, so I'm ready to play. Now you don't need this dual over under view. You can keep, one of these views or whatever. Alright, so then all you do basically at this point is you're ready to play, and you just start the game and you go. So anyways, that's how the Play Choice 10 games are, which is an arcade machine that had the old NES games like Mario Brothers and stuff like that. The arcade machine that had the Sonic games, Mega Play, that's straightforward. You just insert coin and start. And then what else? Super Nintendo. Oh yeah, like F-Zero. I think F-Zero, like Super Nintendo emulated games were also straightforward, but they're a little buggy. So you'll see this red screen. It's a little buggy. Sometimes they crash or they take a little longer to load. MAME hasn't emulated 100% perfectly yet, but they are playable. You can just give it a second. Let me make sure my buttons are set up. Yeah, oh yeah, see, playable. Ready to go already. Anyways, I think that covers everything. If you still have questions and this is still too confusing, leave a comment and I'll try to help you. But basically, everything you need to know is probably in this video. Okay? And if it's not in the video, it's probably inside this ROMs folder in this README. Game links inside README. So you can go through the README and it'll probably have helpful instructions or something that's going to guide you along and answer your question. So you should be good to go, hopefully.